Okay, so this week, what we want to do is look at formants, the format frequencies for a few different vowels. What this is.
Behavior new set existence dashwoods. It satisfied to Mr. Commanded, consisted disposing engrossed. Tall snug.
Yeah, so it's random words. I just found a bunch of garbage on the internet and read it. So once I want to draw your attention to the first word and the last word. So go ahead and listen one more time.
Behavior new set existence dashwoods. It satisfied to Mr. Commanded, consisted disposing engrossed. Tall snug.
Okay, so it's behavior and snug. And the E in behavior and the in snug, those are two very different vowel sounds. So if we compare those, we should be able to see quite a bit of difference. So what we're going to do is, in Audacity, Audacity, this is kind of where Audacity falls off in terms of its how well it can analyze speech. So we're going to start with Audacity, but then I'm going to show you Praat, and it is going to do a much better job. But if you like Audacity, then you can use it. Your answers just won't be quite as precise, which is not super cool. So one thing I want to draw your attention to is you can see these glides here. See how this goes up, this goes up, this goes up, this one comes down. This is characteristic of different speech sounds. You can also see, where did I see this before? I think it's this sound.
Dash, 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 dash.
So that's dash. And satisfy. So you can see that this looks a lot like this. And those are both as, the phoneme. And that's kind of cool, right? Like, even though I'm saying different words, these phonemes look visually very similar. All right, so really quickly again, what I did to get it into from this, which is the default, to Spectrogram, is I just click on this button here and then click on Spectrogram. Now I want to show you something else that we can do the Spectrogram. If we go up here and click on Spectrogram settings, one thing that I like to do in Audacity is I like to set it to a mel spectrum. So we have linear, we have logarithmic, and we have mel. Linear is exactly what it sounds like, right? Like 200 hertz, 300 hertz, 400 hertz, 500 hertz. And then way up, we're going to have 19,200 hertz, 19,300 hertz, 19,400 hertz. And those are all equally spaced. We know that the way that we perceive frequency is not linear. So the linear spectrum is not exactly the best. What it does is it kind of scrunches down everything that we want to see into this bottom portion. Up here, I mean, these frequencies above 4,000 hertz are not really anything that we care about. It cuts it at 8,000, but we've got 12,000 hertz more information up here that we're not seeing. But this is still kind of scrunched down, and it's hard to see exactly what all the formats are doing. So in that case, what we can do, we can set it to a logarithmic scale, and a logarithmic scale is just going to accentuate the bottom portion, but it might accentuate it a little too much. Go ahead and take a look at this. See, it's really stretched out to the point where it's not very intelligible what's going on down here. I mean, do we even really care what's going on below about, well, certainly below 20 hertz, we don't. We can't hear that. And below 50, there's not really information in our voices either. So we've got this whole half window here that we don't even really care about. Only above 50 do we actually care about it. And then, you can still see that the and the look very similar. And that's cool. cool. This is a better picture than the linear scale, but the mel, and this mel stands for melody, this is put into a scale that's like what we use musically. So these things are kind of, it's a little bit between the two. It's between logarithmic and it's between linear, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so we don't have all that stuff that contains no information taking up real estate down here. There's still some up here that we don't need to care about, but really this is focused in on what we actually want to see. So a MEL spectrum is a lot better for looking at both music and speech. And you can see here that, so for the ah, we have frequencies that are, I'd say maybe 230-ish, and up here maybe, I don't know, 600 possibly. And for our E, there's not a lot of, we should have quite a bit of representation up here for an E. And yet, we don't have a ton of representation up there. And this is exactly why Audacity kind of falls down on the job for analyzing speech. Here's our and with the you can actually tell that we've got a little bit of a higher first formant than we do in the E. It's right around here. Oh, it looks like if I come over, it's about here. And so this is the E.
B.
You can hear that. So the E is down about 230. The is up a little higher, about, not too much higher, not as high as it looks like it should be. It's about 300. And then you can see that the second formant for is much closer to where it should be. So they're a lot closer together. And that makes a lot of sense for the sound. Now the E frequency should be somewhere up here. And you can see there's some information, but not a ton. So again, this is when Audacity falls down on the job. Really quickly, to show you one of the reasons why I do still like Audacity is for things like this. What if we wanted to measure, what if we want to measure the frequency there? Well, I go to Analyze, Plot Spectrum, and it looks like the fundamental frequency for me saying B in behavior is 112 hertz. This bump over here, 31 hertz, that doesn't make any sense. That must be, it's got to be an artifact of the recording process, because there's no way that I've got a fundamental frequency of 31 hertz. But 112 makes sense, and then it jumps to 222, which makes sense as the next harmonic, right? Because 112 plus 112 is 224, and this is 222. It's very close. You can see that this peak right here means that the first formant is probably right here at the second harmonic, 222. Then we go to 327, which is close again. And then you can see the other formant is probably here with this bump. In fact, the peak of that formant could be 2,297. And that makes sense. It's almost double this, 222 or 224. And so it's still a harmonic multiple. And then the configuration of my vocal tract is giving it these bumps right here for the first formant, the second formant, and the third. Okay, that's Audacity. Now let's take a look at Praat, where we can actually see real hard data. I'm just making sure that I'm still recording here, because sometimes it likes to quit. Okay, let's pull up Praat. I'm going to open read from file, and the file that I've got here is test speak. You'll have that to follow along with as well. And what we want to do is click on view and edit. All right, now I'll show you something that's really cool. You can click on any of these and they will play the file. So I can click down here, the total duration.
Behavior new set existence Dashwoods. It satisfied to Mr. Commanded, consisted disposing engrossed. Tall snug.
And that'll just play the entire sound file. Let's zoom in. I want to take a look at behavior. And now this button for total duration is still going to play the entire thing. This button, visible part, just plays what's visible.
Behavior. Behavior. Behavior.
It just plays behavior. You can also highlight things, and then you can play what's in the highlighted portion and what's on either side of the highlighted portion. So here we can play just silence. Here we can get and here we can get
behavior.
So it cuts it a little bit. The only thing that I don't prefer to Audacity is the fact that I can't just move my selection by clicking on it and dragging. It starts a new selection. So every time, you can't just trim off a little bit like you can on Audacity, which is nice. Well, that's pretty close. That's pretty close to just B. Which we don't want the B, but there's enough E that I think we're safe. Okay, so again, there's quite a bit of a B in there. I'm gonna try to cut it a little more fine. All right, we're just gonna go with it. All right, so what you want to do is, I've got the formats drawn on here in speckle format. If you don't have that, what you want is, you want to go to Format up here in the top, and you want to click on Show Formats. And that'll get you in this view. So you might be in this view. You're going to want to go to Format, Show Formats, and there you go. Now what you want to do is you want to look at, you want to get the first format, 256. Keep that in mind, 256. Now let's go to get second format, 2211. This is very close to what we saw in Audacity when I looked at the spectrogram of this portion, where we could guess where the formats were just by the peaks in the spectrum. 220, well, I forgot what it was. Did I say 256? Anyway, this is 2211. Let's look at the first one again, because I'm an idiot. 256, yeah, okay. So 256 and 2211. Also, let's look at pitch really quickly. So mean pitch here is 110. Pretty low. I recorded this when I just woke up. So before, I don't know, through my day, I think my muscles get tighter with just like daily anxiety, and then my pitch goes up a little bit. Anyway, so 110, 111 if you round it. And so that shows you that the fundamental frequency isn't always the first format. In fact, it rarely is the first format. And you should think about that in terms of some of those questions on the exam and in the knowledge checks that you're doing are asking you things like, what if we pass a complex tone with a fundamental frequency of whatever through a tube that's closed at one end? And the complex tone from me in this portion is a complex tone of the fundamental frequency of 110, behavior. Right, and so the complex tone is 110, and then I've got all my harmonic, the harmonic series going up on top of that. So that's 111, 222, 333, 444, all the way up. And then we're passing it through a tube that's closed at one end, and that's why you get these different harmonic, the different format frequencies. Different harmonics are accentuated because of the shape of my vocal tract. All right, so 256 and 2211. So let's really quickly, I have up this voice chart, which I'm going to show you. Oh, it is actually over here. No, that's Home Depot. I'm buying a new weed eater. Oh, this is my garbage words. Here we go. All right, so 222. Format 1 is over here on this axis. So 222 is going to be about here. And the next, or 256 is also in this area. And then 2211 is going to be, about here. And so if you look at where those two cross, we're about here. It's close to the E. My E might be have a second formant that's a little lower than this diagram, but that's okay. What you'll notice when you start analyzing speech, you can analyze your own as well. In fact, I'm going to ask you to analyze your own. What you're going to notice is that you're not going to be right on target with this E. This is kind of an average, right? And it's a good average. I mean, we're pretty sure that E's are going to be somewhere around this E. They could bleed into the E portion or the Y portion, the Y, but, they could. But they're going to be centered around where this E is. Most people's E's, and you voice E's differently in different contexts. Different people voice E's differently as well. So overall, most E's are near this E. And mine is, right? So 256, maybe about here. 2211, maybe here. And so we're pretty close to the E. Okay, now let's jump back and take a look at the in snug. So
snug, snug, snug.
Okay. Now I think this dark portion here should be where you can actually see formants. Let's do this differently. This dark portion here where you can actually see formants should be the vowel. You should be able to kind of look at these eventually, maybe not yet, but you should be able to look at these and see that's a vowel because they're very clear formant frequencies that I can see with my eyes. Like if I take the speckling off, I can still see band, 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 band. If I look over here where the G is, it's more like a noise signal. Can't even really hear what it sounds like. But there's just broadband noise. Maybe it looks like there's a band right there, but it's mostly just colored in. And this S for snug, same deal. It's broadband noise. And that makes sense. An S sounds a lot like white noise, like a kind of sound. So you can tell the difference between vowels and consonants. And there's an Okay, so once again, let's take a look at pitch. We'll go to pitch and we'll get pitch. 148, so my fundamental frequency was a little higher at this point. And then what we want to do is we want to show our formants and then get first formant. 592. And we want to get our second formant, 1329. So I forgot it again. I should write this down. 592, 593, really. 593 and 1329. All right, so let's take a look at this. 593 is going to be about here. Well, it's so close to 600. Let's just say 600. And and we're pretty much at 1400 as well. So for me is right here. And that's pretty close to this it's pretty close to this formant as well, but this is the schwa, which makes sense, right? So emphasized and the schwa kind of an unemphasized, the de-stressed schwa, like that kind of thing. It makes sense that the is somewhere between those. It should probably be closer to this, but maybe I kind of am a relaxed talker anyway, so maybe it's going to be about here. Anyway, this makes sense for that being where that should be. Now, what we could do, it would be really interesting if I had any oohs in there. If we looked up an ooh, the first formant should be about the same as the E, and the second formant should be much lower, and we should be able to look at that. I'm not sure if I have any of those in my speech sample, though. Let's take a listen to it.
Behavior new set existence dash woods.
New.
It satisfied to Mr. Commanded, consisted disposing engrossed. Tall snug. New set existence. Your new set.
Okay, new is right in here. I think it's probably right here. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to check the pitch again just to, demonstrate again that fundamental frequency, in this case 128, is not the same thing as formant. We write these differently, right? The fundamental frequency is an italicized lowercase f sub 0. Formant is a capital F 1, 2, 3, whatever. So a frequency, harmonic, in the harmonic series is a lowercase italicized f. A formant is a capital F, non-italicized. All right, so the first formant here, 286. And the second formant is 1938. So 286, 1938. This doesn't look like it's going to work. Because 286 is here, but 1938 is about here. So I'm kind of on par with this yeah right here, with this Z sound. So new, huh. Why is it not right? That's kind of strange. I should have checked this out before I made a tutorial about it. Except you're getting the skill. You're also seeing that my voice is a little wonky, I guess. New. Well, you know what? New. I wonder. Maybe that's not a good representation of that sound.
You said existence Dashwood.
Let's try this. Let's try this wood here.
Dashwood.
It's kind of unemphasized, but it might do the trick. There's an S. Okay, this is a good thing to show you too. Notice how there's no formants really in this S. It's actually a sh, not an S, but it looks like noise. It's just a band of dark speckling, and that just kind of denotes noise. Now wood should be about here.
Wood.
That might be too low. It might be too unemphasized. I would expect that this is another fricative consonant. Yeah, there's an S. So not necessarily a fricative, but just a kind of a noise, an unvoiced noise consonant here. Well, I might have to give up on the oo sound.
It's satisfied to Mr. Commanded consisted disposing and
Well, let's take a look at the O.
disposing.
Alright, we might have a little too much there. Let's trim it on both ends, but mostly the right side. Yeah, good enough. Okay. So we'll look at the formant 454. Second formant 11, well, let's call it 1200, right? So 454 and 1200. 454 is about here-ish, and 1200 is about here. So my O, again, not quite on par, but this one's actually pretty close. So we've got our O here and but close enough, I would say. It's within this region. Let me show you that these again are averages, and if you look at here we go. if you look at where people actually voice these formants for these different vowels, it's kind of all over the place, right? So we've got E's all over here, and we've kind of drawn the circle around it so that, you know what, let's see if we can take a closer look at that. Well, not really. That didn't do anything. There we go. So you can see that these E's are here. Most of them lie within this ring, but a lot of them are outside. And you can also see that some of these Is, like this I, is actually inside the E ring. There's some U's over here, some Oo are laying over here. So like mine was kind of over in this region. And you can see that this is actually a little bit closer in than the other graph for the average of for these speakers as well. So again, it's an average. Where the formants are is an average for our vocal tracts. Like I said, different conditions are going to make you voice these slightly differently. So different word conditions, different stress conditions, different environmental conditions. Are you tired? Did you just wake up? Is it later in the day? Is it midday? Are you anxious? Are you bored? All things like that. And then also from person to person, it varies a little bit as well. What's really interesting, though, is even though we have all that interperson variability and interperson variability as well, we can still come up with a pretty reliable average. So we can still say most of them are here, most of them are here, most of them are here. And that's really the basis of our perception of hearing these different vowels as the vowels that we intend them to be. All right. So if you took 367 with me, you also know that there's a lot of top-down information. If you took 205 with me, we talked about the familiar listener effects as well. So this is, average place for our formants. You can see there's this I all the way over here. That's kind of pretty far flung. And this E all the way over here, also pretty far flung. Whoa. Actually, I just noticed. Look at this. This is like really far away from its home. Anyway, so sometimes these things happen where they're very far away from where their home actually is. But the more you get to know the speaker, the more you're expecting their formants to be in a certain place, right? Now, it's not like you're consciously saying, oh, their formants are a little shifted downwards. It's more like you just know the sound of their voice, so you can expect, you're better at predicting the vowel sounds that they're making. So there's a lot of cognitive work going on as well. But that cognitive work is just making this be recognizable as an over here. But by and large, our es are voiced in this region, our e's are voiced in this region. And so that's how we can understand completely unfamiliar people the first time we hear them. All right, so that's how you use Praat, and that's kind of the basis of what you're doing. I'm going to send you the vowel chart that I've been using. Not that one. Oh, this is another great representation of the vowel chart as well. So showing that there's a range for these speech sounds. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to send you the vowel chart. Here we go. And I'm going to also give you another sample of my speech. And I want you to first analyze the sample of speech and figure out what vowel you think it is. You're going to be able to listen to it, so that takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it. I'm going to give you some numbers, and I want you to try to figure out what vowel that is, and that you're not going to be able to listen to, so that'll put more guesswork in. And then what I want you to do is record your own voice and analyze your sounds. So the requirements are going to be up, but let's just do this really quickly. We'll go to Praat. We'll get rid of this really quickly. We'll come over here, and we should be able to record a mono sound. So, click record. Gleam, glum. Okay, you can play it.
Gleam, glum.
You can view and edit. Gleam, glum. And we can zoom in a little bit so we can look at each one of these.
Gleam.
All right, there's gleam. We want to grab this formant, or well, sorry, this vowel.
Gleam. Gleam.
There's E. I want you to look at the pitch. So here my fundamental frequency is 137. Like I said, it kind of goes up through the day. Well, also E, like I've done some research that shows that in addition to having different format frequencies for E, we tend to raise our pitch when we say E as well. So our fundamental frequency goes up in addition to changing our formats. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The first format is 316, and the second is 2260 is what we'll say for that. So 2260 and 316. All right, 316 is a little higher than normal, and then 2260 is about here. So there's E. My E is now in a slightly different place. And then let's look at the I've got quite a bit of L there. That's all right. Pitch 106 and format 602 and 1070. So 600 and 1070. 600 and 1070 about here. So again, my is not right on the it's about here, but it's close. It's within the range. Especially if we look at over here, this one shows that some of these vowels have more of an oblong down left and up right kind of shape to them. So the fact that my is a little up and right of this is right in about where it should be. Okay. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to record gleam, glum. Make sure that you kind of elongate that vowel long enough for you to get a good measurement of it. Gleam, glum, like that. And measure your format frequencies for the E and the Are they right on? Are they pretty far off? Are they more characteristic of a different vowel? Do people tell you that you have an accent? These are some things that you're going to turn in for your assignment, your extra credit Praat assignment this week. Okay, this was longer than I intended, so I'm sorry about that. But good work, and I will talk to you soon.